Well, sports fans, interesting story that came up, and now it's really hitting me kind of all day. The ramifications of this story have been coming up in my mind. Well, the EU has decided that it doesn't matter if you vote. If they don't like who you voted for, they just simply nullify it. Now, how do they do this? Through the judiciary, by basically ginning up legal issues. So now we're starting to get solidly a pattern, aren't we? Aren't we seeing a pattern of the kinds of people who would end up in the judiciary, but they so loathe the people they feel that they're willing to, that they're deigning to rule over your kind. And such people, they think that they should tell you who you should vote for. That you shouldn't be able to have anybody they don't wholeheartely approve of. It's interesting being that, it's a pretty, in Europe, you see a similar pattern here with the judiciary. I mean, I've noticed certain kinds of names from country to country, oddly enough. But one of the interesting things, too, is a lot of people who were formerly judges and officials when countries were communist were allowed to stay in the government. Similar to how the EU was invented, really, the legal structure was invented by former Nazi lawyer, writer of the Nuremberg race laws, Hans Globke. And that Adenauer and all of them were more than willing to work with him. Or how, you end up having former fascists in the Italian government by the 50s. So within a decade, they had all come back, and everybody had forgotten. They were reformed, you see. They were reformed. They had changed their stripes, like a leopard. So, all these tiger people want to elect a nice healthy tiger to govern the rest of the tigers, but then there's this leopard. All these leopards that keep saying, I get why you tigers want to elect a tiger leader, but us leopards, we have a different point of view. And you know what I mean? We are better than you. We brought you civilization. The ancient leopard civilization. So, Romania was basically Thierry, what was his name? Thierry, oh God, it was so beautiful. Thierry Breton told everybody, yeah, Germany, we'll just nullify your elections. We don't like it, we'll just nullify it. Fuck you. Just like we did Romania. So now, the GOP has some very important decisions to make about our relationship with NATO and the EU. We're not dealing with people who can be equals because they don't believe in participatory government. This has already been a problem with Erdogan. But now we're finding out that Brussels is the same way. So the GOP is going to have to try real hard to make this make sense. You see, because when Erdogan gets angry, all of a sudden Europe has to pay. When the French get angry, all of a sudden Northern Europe has to pay. When the Mohammedans are angry, all of a sudden everybody in the EU has to pay. Or no. Or we could say all that shit is over. We don't really recognize your seat of government in Brussels anymore. Easy peasy lemon squeeze. We just don't recognize your government. If you're not going to recognize people's votes, we're not going to recognize any of our treaties, any of our agreements. We're going to make agreements directly with countries. Fuck the EU. That's how they want to play it. This is actually easy. This is played easily enough. This is played easily enough. The GOP just has to show that they have the fucking balls. Now, a lot of people in GOP like pleasing their wives, and but honey, if you, we'll all end up with no eyes if we eye for an eye. The world will be blind. No, actually, the EU needs us, and we could tell them to fuck themselves. We can't. We actually can't. We could tell them to fuck themselves. We can make it clear, no, you're going to start recognizing elections, or we're going to tariff you just as badly as China. I mean, why should we do business with dictatorships that don't recognize the rights of their own people, that they say that they do? They say that they recognize people's right to participatory government. They obviously don't believe in that idea. So why should we figure that they do good and fair business? Why should we pretend anymore? Why should we pretend that anybody can touch us? And they can't. We're the best. Hate us because they ain't us. And yeah. And also, let me just make this clear, that more and more, all these people, the liberals all over the Eurosphere, oh my God, what the fuck? Oh my God, that's not fashionable. Wearing a hat all day. My hair's all fucked up. But anyway, the Democrats are making very clear that obviously, I mean, Hassan Piker said it the other day on his show, he couldn't understand how nobody was rioting. Note that it's, because Hassan's a bitch. Hassan's not out there fucking with anybody. No, of course not. Because Hassan's a bitch. And he's a rich boy and a bitch. And so he's like a typical socialist. He's a fucking coward. A wealthy coward who doesn't fit in any place. And also, of course, dresses like shit. He dresses like a fucking clown. But so I just wanted to make this easy to understand. We don't have to recognize that people who think that they could use force against other people. We don't have to recognize that you guys are legit, like a legit political movement anymore. You're not. Like, American Democratic Party is not a legitimate political party anymore. It's you're these weird, coercive, deceitful people who do think that you have some special right to use force against other citizens, not against the government, against citizens. And so we don't. There is no more of this. We're dealing with equals. In the tier list, MAGA and all of us, we're at the top, and everybody else is lower levels of humanity. Because we're right, and you guys are fucking wrong. That's why you keep trying to come here. Fuck you.